Hey guys, kinggath here, and in this guide we're going to go over the War Planner's desk and all the different things you can do with it. So now I've covered most of the War Planner's desk in various guides, but I thought it would be useful to have one centralized video about this stuff and then recap some of it. Now I'm not going to go in full depth on some of these. I'll probably point you to the appropriate video where you could get more of that information, but I wanted people who are searching for the term War Planner's desk to have somewhere to go. So first thing to know is that you can build this if you have a workshop framework installed, which all of you do because it's required. You will find that it's under Sim Settlements and then Furniture. Prior to patch 1.1.11 of Workshop Framework, instead, if you don't have the Mod Settlement Menu Manager, this would be under Furniture or Crafting instead. If those requirements of Workshop Framework Settlement Menu Manager are confusing, basically I don't like injecting menus unless there's some sort of protection against it because I hate seeing people's menus break. I don't want it to ever be my fault. Well, Settlement Menu Manager and the latest Workshop Framework, latest at the time of recording this, protect your build menu. And so as soon as it detects one of those is in place, then Sim Settlements will inject its menus as it expects. So this War Planner's desk, you can build it from here. It just looks like a normal desk until it is placed, and then it will add all these extra items, and that's what we're going to talk about today. So I'm going to start with the ones that we haven't talked about in any videos, or at least I don't think we have yet. One is the settlement flag. So you can actually change the actual flag that's in the particular outpost, or because you can build these War Planner's desks in normal settlements, this just allows you to change the flag. It is no different than changing it at the City Planner's desk. You simply select the one you want and then exit the container. It updates not only the little flag on this desk, but it will update any flags found throughout the settlement that are of the dynamic type. So that is in some settlements, there is a subsection here called decorations, and it has these different flags that are all controlled by this, as well as any flags on the 2x2 marshal plots. These are all controlled by this thing on the desk. So you can dynamically change all those flags in one go. So obviously in your outpost and vassals, you probably want the faction flag, but maybe you don't, and so you can change that across the board. Now note that it does not always, it will try to, but for whatever reason, it does not always correctly detect other war planners or city planners desks to update their flags. That's something that's been on my bug list forever. Hasn't been important enough for me to tackle though. And then the other thing that I don't think we've discussed in any other video is the bounties. So the bounties system allows you to get sometimes custom quests, other times radiant quests that are often related to your faction, but not necessarily. Any mod is allowed to inject these into the system, and it doesn't have to necessarily be for their particular faction, though they do have the ability to flag those. With Conqueror, we actually have some rather important quests that are routed through that, mostly just to make sure you guys learn about that system and teach you. So if you're, which that is actually, Jammer's questline was actually originally designed explicitly to train you on all the mechanics in Conqueror, and has since grown into its own thing with a lot of story elements and whatnot. But the bounty system, it's worth checking. It can give you a new bounty once per day. It's a good way to get little radiant quests, and if you're playing with a faction pack that's using it, it could be a way to get little story tidbits or actual big quests. So those are the two things I haven't shown, I think, in any videos. So now with these other things, I'm going to just show you briefly some things about this desk and what these things, I'll talk about these things, roughly what they do and where you can find more information. So one thing to know about the War Planner's desk is it is a typical crafting desk. So you can actually, if you get onto the desk itself, if you don't touch, or if you don't mouse over or hover over with your controller over any of the actual objects on it, you can actually use this as a crafting desk. And you'll see that it has currently just the stuff for the personal guards, which you can learn about. And in the future, we'll probably add additional things here so that if you ever find something that Conqueror is adding that's craftable, it's probably adding it here. For example, any of the craftable unlocks you earned through Jammer's questline, those are going to be done at the War Planner's desk. Some of them are probably also done at the chemistry desk, but I think it probably tells you that. So the next thing on that same vein is the fact that this can also be used like a typical crafting station and transfer stuff from your workshop. So you can actually get access to your workshop with the transfer option. All right, next thing to talk about is the Manage Empire menu. I'm not going to discuss explicitly what this does. There's an entire video dedicated to the Empire Management menu, but it effectively allows you to do a lot of things regarding your faction. You can do things remotely from here. So you can do things like get information about settlements that you currently see on your HUD locally. You could get information about any of your vassals or outposts in your Empire's network from this menu, and you can do that inside of any of your outposts and vassals. The options might change slightly under different conditions, but that is explained again in the Manage Empire or the Empire Management menu video. Okay, next we have the ham radio, which is for managing recruitment. From here, you can do things like donate resources, queue up special units, and learn about the types of resources your faction is interested in. So this is covered in the recruit video. You can go check that out if you want to learn more about the ham radio and how specifically that works. Then lastly, and probably one of the major cornerstones of Conqueror, is the raid board. This is what allows you to run assaults against different settlements with your army and claim new territory. So this one is really in depth to the point where there are actually multiple videos about using this board. So I'm not going to cover those. Go check out the videos on running raids and you will learn a lot about this particular thing. But in a nutshell, it allows you to expand your territory. So that is currently everything that this desk can do. I do have plans for at least one more object, and the object already exists actually. It's this little bobblehead. You can actually pick it up and move it around, though. I don't recommend doing that, because if I add that feature and you have moved that thing and thrown it out into the world, you won't have access to that thing without building yourself a new Warplanner's desk. But that being movable was just because I didn't realize it had normal movable collision when I added it, and I've just never taken the time to swap the model out. So, but that eventually will be something for managing troops in a bigger way. So I've always envisioned a way to bulk move people around or bulk reassign. So that will be coming in a future update. And when that comes, I will probably make a video dedicated just to that particular item. But for now, you can check out the individual videos on these things that I mentioned and learn a bit more about the Warplanner's desk.